Our CarTell TV crew, along with Little T, took the Kia EV5 from Adelaide to Mount Gambier. They started with a full charge, displaying 455 kilometres of range, and the destination was 436 kilometres away. It was a 4.5-hour drive, but the real question, did the EV5 make it? Let's find out. They hit the road, and after just 5 kilometres, the range dropped to 426 kilometres. It dropped quickly, but with regenerative braking, they were back up to 432 k's in no time. According to the navigation, they would have 2 kilometres to spare when they arrived. First stop, Mount Barker. They were 397 kilometres into the journey, with 366 kilometres left in the battery. At this point, we are running at just under the range needed to complete our trip without a stop. As they rolled into Murray Bridge, the range had dropped to 339 kilometres, with 365 kilometres to go. That range is dropping faster than we would like, but that's expected with expressway driving. Next, they cruised through Tailem Bend with 339 kilometres remaining to the destination and 316 kilometres left on the battery. The EV5 was handling the trip smoothly and Little T was happily snoozing in the back. Passing Canalpin, they had 227 kilometres of range left and 274 kilometres to go. There's a 50-kilometre difference at this point. They arrived in Tintinara with 192 kilometres of range left and 247 kilometres still to go. At this point, a recharge was definitely in the cards, but they weren't there yet. In Keith, they had 152 kilometres of range left and 211 kilometres to go, so it was time for a quick 23-minute charge, a nappy change, and a feed for Little T. With 278 kilometres back in the tank, they were ready to hit the road again. Next up was Willaluka, with 235 kilometres of range left and 175 kilometres to go. They were back on track and cruising along with kilometres to spare. As they rolled into Naracoorte, they had 153 kilometres left on the battery, with just 102 kilometres to go. The end was near. Passing Coonawarra, they had 110 kilometres of range left, with just 61 kilometres standing between them and Mount Gambier. Finally, they arrived in Mount Gambier with 87 kilometres of range left and 24% battery. That's pretty reasonable for a single pit stop and nappy change. People often have range anxiety, but most people wouldn't drive for more than 2 hours without stopping anyway. And there were more than enough charging stations along the way. It wasn't an inconvenience to drive an electric vehicle on such a long trip at all. Also, the other thing to note is the drive back from Mount Gambier actually used less kilometres. So, the crew, plus Lil T, made it from Adelaide to Mount Gambier in the Kia EV5. They did end up taking one quick stop to charge to be safe, but they would have had to have stopped in all cases. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more road trip adventures here on CarTell.tv.